if you understand your business kind of as a financial model first, now you can do other bits and pieces of math that will say, okay, if it's 14, then I need $56,000 in revenue to pay $14,000 in fixed expenses.
Hey, auto repair shop owners and enthusiasts, get ready for an event that's going to revolutionize the way that you market your business. Introducing Mars, Marketing for Auto Repair Shops. We've curated an extraordinary lineup of marketing experts from various categories to guide you through the ins and outs of marketing in today's digital age. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just starting out, Mars has something for everyone. Save the date, March 21st through 23rd, we're hosting Mars at our headquarters in beautiful city of Ogden, Utah. Trust us, you don't want to miss this. We've got experts in websites, social media, effective audience targeting, and even a deep dive into the promise and perils of AI in auto repair shop marketing. It's a comprehensive experience that'll transform the way you think about marketing your shop. But that's not all. Mars isn't just a passive learning. We're actually going to take you on a journey to marketing mastery, because you'll not only gain insights from the pros, but you'll also craft your own marketing plan with actionable steps to help bring in new customers while keeping your loyal VIPs happy right here at the conference.
It's almost they set a plan for you. It's like taking this information, put it into action, and then just boom, excel from that.
It's worth its weight in gold to come here, not just for the knowledge that you get from everyone that presents and for the people that are trying to better your business and better yourself. It's the networking that you get with other shops. You're not alone.
They have very clear answers to the problems that we're facing. So it's not just kind of a guessing game. It's, hey, here's a problem. Here's a great idea how to address this. Here's a path that we can take to bring you towards getting the answers that you need.
If you're thinking about it and not sure, if you're ready for a pivot to change things up and really take it to the next level, you need to attend the next conference.
Imagine having a roadmap for success in the palm of your hands. That's what Mars offers, a game-changing experience that'll elevate your auto repair shop to new heights. So mark your calendars, March 21st through the 23rd. Mars is coming to Ogden, Utah, and we want you to be a part of this revolutionary event. Don't miss out on the opportunity to transform your marketing strategies and drive success for your auto repair shop. Stay tuned for more details, and we'll see you at Mars.
Okay.
Now, look, a technician turned shop owner is going to look at that and say, "No, I need $14,000 to cover my break even."
Well, I have to pay the tech if I'm not the tech, okay? And if I am the tech, I still have to pay me because if you're an owner and you haven't accounted for your pay, you ain't gonna get it. All right. So, and then I have to pay the rent and the utilities, and I have to pay the government. And I'm not necessarily talking about sales tax. There are licensing fees in the city. There's I just renewed my business license, $80. Used to be $15. There are other things that I have to pay for. And then in my life, I don't know about you, but there's some miscellaneous thing that somehow we miss that comes in damn near every month.
But here's my question though. If I've counted for my overhead and my overhead's $14,000 a month,
yes,
then why do I need $56,000 to pay? If I make $14,000, I paid my bills.
Well, actually, the 56 would be making a 20% net profit because again, I have a model that says I need of the parts, I need this much profit out of that parts to be used to pay the parts bill and the rest of my bills, utilities.
Right.
And some of that needs to be left over for profit. And you don't get profit if you don't plan profit.
Amen.
Okay.
I agree.
So that 56,000 that's a number that says I can pay the tech reasonably. I can pay for the parts. I got the money in the bank.
Right.
I can pay myself something for whatever jobs I do. I can pay the insurance, the gas bill, the light bill, the rent, everything. And at the end of the day, there's 20% left in the pile. Now, if I don't, one of the best things probably to do is share my my screen.
Okay.
And I'm pulling up a class really quickly, and I got all kinds of crud, but I just want to share one thing, right, or two.
Okay.
And it starts with I've got 3 techs, and those 3 techs are going to do 1.24 million in my business. And you got to understand some math to figure that out. So, what is my effective labor rate? I have a posted rate. I sell my labor at $120 an hour, right? Except when I do oil changes, then my labor rate's 62.
Yeah.
And when I do comebacks, my labor rate's 0. So, I do a 3-hour water pump. Maybe there aren't any 3-hour water pumps anymore, but let's just throw that out there. And a week later, it comes back. It's a defective water pump. My guy spends another 3 hours putting another water pump on the car, but I'm not charging labor.
Yeah.
So that's 3 hours at 0 labor rate. When I do my oil change, if I do 10 oil changes today and I'm paying my tech, let's say nowadays 5/10 to 8/10 to an hour, my labor rate's at $60 an hour. So if I'm paying 5/10, the oil change plus some type of an inspection at $60 an hour, then I'm charging $30 and it's $60 an hour, and if I do 10 of those, that's 5 hours at $60 an hour, half an hour each, 10 of them, 5, right? And so, if I understand my effective labor rate, one of the numbers I need to know, we can certainly go through all of the calculations to get there. I add all the different labor together that I got this month, and then I add all the different times that I charged, and then I take the labor dollars and divide it by the time.
Right.
And that's going to tell me, here's your effective labor rate. So I might think I'm 120, but my effective labor rate after discounts and comebacks and paying techs to do DVIs without charging customers, however I do it, I have a $93 labor rate.
Right.
So in this shop that I'm talking about that's going to be on the screen, they have 3 technicians, they have a $120 labor rate, and they really have a $120 labor rate.
Right.
And their parts, what they sell in parts is about 45% of what they sell.
Okay.
A typically healthy shop will have 45% of what they sell in parts and 55% of what they sell in labor. And I know that because I've been looking at shops for 40 years. All right. And I know what the healthy ones do, and I know what the unhealthy ones do.
Right.
So now I'm going to do this formula that says, what is my hour worth? All right. And I'm going to take my effective labor rate and I'm going to multiply it times 1 plus parts over labor. So if parts is 45%, labor is 55%, then I'm going to do the division. That's going to tell me 0.82. So if I have a $100 labor rate and I'm going to multiply that times 1 plus 0.82, I'm worth $182 an hour when I bill myself out normally. And that's going to fluctuate in a shop because you maybe have more oil changes one month and you have less another month. And maybe you have, more car count one month. So you're doing more free DVIs, et cetera. So when I know that, then I say to myself, oh, I'm worth $182 when I charge myself out. So now I've got 3 guys, and those 3 guys can work 2,080 hours a year, 52 weeks, 40 hours a week, 2,080 hours, but they're not going to. They're going to take a month off because of holidays, vacation days, etc.
Right.
So now I take that number, 182, and I multiply it times 1,960 hours because that's 2,080 minus a month. That's an 11 month. They're going to be here working. So 182, I got to do this one, not in my head. That's $356,720.
And so folks, there is your potential, right? And,
for one tech.
Right.
And it's even more important than potential. Okay. And because when the tech is not productive and I'm paying him hourly or a salary, I'm not saying don't pay hourly or salary. Please don't go online and beat me up because I said if I'm paying hourly or salary. But if I am paying hourly or salary and the tech is not productive, that $20 an hour that I'm paying him plus 30% load, that 26 gets to be more.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. That percentage increases dramatically.
Yeah. So whatever, the productivity is, if they're 70% productive, then I'm going to take my $26 and divide it by 0.7 because that's 70%. And my real cost is $37.14. So I got two things working against me. One, I think my labor rate's 120, but it's really 98. And two, my guy's not 100% productive, so my labor cost is no longer $26 for that job. It's now 37 and change.
Yeah.
Okay. So I lost some up at the top with my labor rate. I lost $22 there, and then my cost was $17 higher or $11 higher. So now there's $33 I don't have that I can't pay my bills with, right?
Yeah.
Or profit for me. So when I show this particular slide, what I've done is I've taken 3 techs in a shop that's $20 an hour that are 100% productive. And I said if they worked 1,960 hours and they did that they would give us $1.24 million.
Right.
Okay. And now I'm modeling my business, right? Just like I don't know, I'm going to build an engine or I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to draw something out. I'm going to build a house. They don't let you just okay, there you go, build a house. You got to have plans, right?
Absolutely.
So now I'm modeling my business and I've got my parts expense and my labor expense. Those are what we call above the line costs, meaning they come out first. I cannot produce my product without labor and parts. Okay.
Right.
And somebody's going to go, well, yeah, but there are jobs we do that there's no part. Yeah. I mean, in general, in a day in my shop, I'm going to sell some parts and I'm going to sell some labor. Okay. And I have to pay the tax and I have to pay the parts bills. And the money I have left over is my gross profit.
Yeah.
After tax and parts. And I can have a loaded tech labor or an unloaded tech labor, but that changes my gross profit. If I have a loaded tech labor, then my gross profit can be 62%, 64%, 60%, right in there. But if I have an unloaded tech labor, now I need to be 74, 76, maybe even as high as 80% GP after I pay for these things. Right? And that's my cost of goods. What does it cost me to produce 1 hour of labor in my shop? And that's going to leave me my gross profit. You hear a lot about gross profit today. I don't think there's a coaching company, even a decent, what do you guys call the guys that are contributors, that don't understand that I need a certain amount of gross profit because now I have to pay my bills, rent, utilities. If I have a salesperson, I got to be able to pay for that person, a service advisor, whatever. If I have somebody sweeping the floors, I got to be able to pay for that person. I got to pay for the truck, the gas, the insurance, the liability insurance on the shop. And if you don't have liability insurance, good luck, because sooner or later,
absolutely, you're going to get bit.
You're going to get chomped. And then I want to have profit left over. So, what's a fair profit? Well, the industry probably today is making about 4% as a whole. If you put everybody in the same pile, about 4%. So let's flesh that through. I need to make some kind of a profit. So the coach consultant is going to say, well, 20% is fair. All right. But you're making 4. So you do $1 million in business. There's this big push. I got to do $1 million. So you do $1 million in business and you have 40,000 left at the end of the year. Okay. And I got to pay taxes on that. Good news. 40,000 taxes is a lot smaller than 400,000, and I'm not going to pay many taxes. But now I also have to reinvest in my company. You guys both own shops. You ever have a year where you didn't have to do some kind of repair on the building?
No. And look, there was a video just today, Cecil, and it was Chris Enright, and Chris Enright's talking about the fact that he's hearing from techs all over the country who say, we're working on broken equipment, we're working on rundown shops that are dirty and that have not had repairs, the roof's leaking.
Hot, cold, miserable conditions, because the shop's not profitable enough to, and the tech, God bless the techs, that they're even still in the industry working under those conditions.
Right.
And we have techs and other contributors who are saying, it's not fair to make a profit. Don't raise your labor rate. It's not about labor rate. Well, I'm sorry. It's not only about labor rate, but if you don't have the right labor rate and you're not getting what you need, then you're going to be working on broken equipment. You're going to have a roof leaking, et cetera, et cetera. Or when a car doesn't go right, you're not going to be able to afford to fix it. For your customer.
And we stand behind the guys that I don't want to rip my clients off. I want to make sure I take care of them. So I'm not going to charge more than that. Well, not fixing it after you break it and it being your responsibility and you not fixing it because you don't have enough money is way more of a rip off in my eyes.
I think
that's got to be factored into your pricing. Stuff that breaks, stuff that you're going to break. The best argument I've ever heard about profit, for profit, or making sure that you generate at least that 20%, is the stock market. You take all that money that you've invested into starting a business, building the business. It's $1 here, $1 there, but it ends up adding up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that doesn't even count all the free time you put into it. Even at minimum wage, you go find a minimum wage job, and the amount of hours that you put into your business to try to build it up, if you take that minimum wage pay and you take whatever dollars that you've been borrowing, put it on a credit card, borrowing from family and friends, saving up, whatever it is, and you invest it into the stock market, you will end up with a certain rate of return. That business needs to be able to generate the same or better rate of return than just putting the money into the stock market, entirely passive, not doing anything else. And if it's not beating it, then you are wasting your time doing all this work and effort to then generate less of a return than you would just putting the money into the stock market. So it's got to at least beat that. So 15 to 20% is why that number ends up being 15 to 20%. Makes perfect sense to me. So let's just kind of put a bow on this here real quickly. The very first thing that you've got to sit down is outline what your expenses are. You've got to know what it is that's going to cost you to open the doors and to stay in business. And those numbers have to be realistic. And if you, as stated earlier, have not been paying for insurance, and we've talked about this before, Lucas, there are expenses that you are not paying for that you don't even realize you should be paying for.
Yes.
And so sometimes you sit down and go, well, I'm going to look at my bank account, and my bank account, since I've only spent money on A, B, and C, dude, you haven't even considered that there's D, E, and F. Other shops are paying money on D, E, and F, and you're not even paying for it because you didn't even realize you're supposed to. Exactly. So that might be a perfect reason to bring in a coach or even network and talk to other shops and, hey, let me look at your P&L. Hide the numbers, but let me look at your P&L. I want to be able to see what it is that I'm not spending money on that I should be factoring into my overhead expenses. Then from there, start looking at your top line, everything above that line, your cost of goods sold. Am I paying for my parts, and am I generating enough profit there? And then, as Cecil outlined beautifully, make sure that you understand what your actual labor rate should be, what your actual labor rate is, your ELR, and then figure out how you adjust those numbers accordingly to make sure that that top line pays for the technician and any load in there if you're gonna add it in there, your parts, and then also ends up paying your expenses, and then at the bottom has a better rate of return than going to the stock market.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, and I want to say this real quick because I get 6 to 12 messages a month about a tech who wants to start a shop. And I always ask, what will the overhead be? And so this is the common message. I got this day before yesterday. He listens to the show. He's going to know I'm talking about him. I said, what would the overhead be monthly? And he says, $2,200 to $2,500 in rent. Mitchell Manager and Pro Demand, $500. Utilities, $300. Insurance estimated $250 a month. Salary, 30% of net. Payroll, depending on employees, estimated $3,000. And I'm like, dude, you can't do it. It won't wait. Like, you are way underestimating what it costs to run a business, right? Like it's absolutely unrealistic. And they think
and your salary doesn't come out of net.
Yeah, your salary's got to come out of not out of top line, but the expenses. And so my biggest frustration is I think so many techs come to us and they say, you're trying to talk us out of starting shops. No, we're trying to talk you into being realistic. This is not what you think it is. And
we've got people who either don't know and they're trying to help, but they don't know.
Yeah.
Or we have people that just plain, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, are stupid. Because you can't
and talk about David and us like that while we're sitting right here, man.
People lie to each other too. I'm looking at numbers for a prominent shop, and it's showing a $200,000 profit for last year, except there's no rent.
Yeah.
Excuse me? Oh, well, Grandpa had the shop. I got the property. You have to figure rent in. Don't lie to yourself. Don't say.
This particular person, right, has been working for a shop. He's unhappy in the shop. He's ready to move. He's ready to go somewhere else. He asked me about starting a shop, and he said, I'm going to buy this shop out. You guys talk about buying shops out. And I said, okay, let's talk about it. And so I said, hey, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need to look at the P&L. And I said, here's some rough numbers of how you'd get the purchase price of this business. He said, great, thank you. He came back at the end of the day, and he said, hey, I got the P&L. What does this mean? And I said, what does what mean? He said, every time I do these figures, no matter how I figure it, it comes out to be a negative number. I said, do what? He said, well, he said, you said to use 3 to 4 years of a P&L and then figure on a 4-year return on that. Well, what would that look like? He said, every way I do it, the lowest number I get is $21,000 in the red. And the best number or the worst number I get is $56,000 in the red. And I'm like,
that's hold on now. Hold on. Let's not get into tangents here, but that's a perfect business to buy. If it's well established, if it's well equipped.
Dude, he's not buying the property. He's not buying the property.
I understand, but the business is worthless. So you're just essentially paying 5 to 10 cents on the dollar.
They're selling the business for selling it for $50,000.
Hang on, guys.
I would take that and run.
Today I probably wouldn't. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, you look for a business that's got good client count, fair reputation. Enough techs, enough customers, and they're really undervaluing themselves. So they're charging $67 an hour, and they're the ones that are basically saying, that guy over there at 110 is ripping everybody off, blah, blah, blah. And you say, holy crap, this business has no value. And there's a bunch of them out there right now. It ain't worth nothing, right? Because they've been losing money, or they lost money, or they don't have the right trend, or there's not enough margin, etc. And you go, okay, I'm going to buy that business, which is fine. A really good guy that really understands the whole game and can make the right adjustments in the right time frames in the right places, along with, by the way, you better figure on spending some money on marketing, because the minute you raise the price on that business, so you can make margin, you're going to lose a bunch of customers, right?
Yeah.
And you may lose all the techs because you're going to come in and go, I'm not lowering your pay. They're already not getting paid enough, but you start raising the rates and you start, asking them to look at cars that they've never looked at and find the things that they've never found. And they're like, well, all this guy wants to do is sell a bunch of shit and rip people off. Yeah. And so you may lose all of those guys. And now you're also spending, you better have I would say at least a $50,000 to $100,000 marketing budget for that, because the next year you're just going to be marketing to bring in better customers, blah blah blah. And you're $300,000 out of pocket, even though you didn't pay much for the business.
And if they're running at a loss already, the equipment's not been maintained, you're going to have to go in and clean the shop up. They don't have a client list, which I don't know that a client list is valuable in that situation anyway. Next thing you know, man, you got a lot more money in this sucker than you think you do. You're not going to go into it and start it with $50,000 and have a $3,000 a month overhead. It's not.
Yeah, there's a guy either yesterday or the day before said, I got $25,000 set aside. I'm going to start my own shop. And I'm like, in 2 months you're going to be broke, right? You know?
Hey, 25,000's gone in month one.
Sorry,
and just so we put this into proper context, I have 37 expense lines in my fixed expenses on my P&L. 37. That's not parts. That's 37. So if yours has 3, there's a problem.
Yeah, or even 20. Right,
or even 20. Yes, I'm 37.
You're missing a couple of things there, baby. Those bills still come due.
That's it.
Awesome. Thank you.